He said, you know you're my girlfriend, right?
She wasn't there for my one and only show.
Preference versus colorism.
You know I don't get jealous.
If I got it, I got it. Please.
It's the simple things that keep relationships going.
What's up, guys? I'm your host today. It's YLD, aka Young Love Doctor. Here on this show, we talk about everything that has to do with young love, young relationships, the struggles that come with that, as well as the passions thereof. All right, and today, to start off, we have two of my very close friends who we're gonna get into today with the show. Very first question that we always gotta ask here is, what's your relationship status?
Together.
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 In a committed relationship.
Tell us, how did you meet?
We met in college, freshman year. We met in the cafeteria. It was me and one of my best friends, and it was her and her roommate. And we just kind of were like, yo, they're sitting there having dinner together, we need to pull up on them. So we just pulled up, and we ended up just like clicking and talking after that. And yeah, that's how we met.
Who made the first move?
I did.
You made the first move?
Yeah. I mean, I just told you I pulled up on
Yeah. I was really gonna ask, like, how long did it take for you to like get to the point where you were like, okay, I know,
No,
I want to ask her, out. Or was it instant? Was it like that day you were like, oh yeah, I pulled up on her.
We pulled up to pull up, like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, you pulled up to pull up,
Yeah,
and
it wasn't
you weren't
like
gonna leave without a girlfriend. Does that make sense?
No, it wasn't a relation. I pulled up because I was attracted to it, right?
No,
like,
then when did you ask her out? How long did that? When did that come?
Relationship?
Yeah.
The official relationship, or what? Like when we started talking?
No. When you said, hey, like, I want you to be my girlfriend, and she said yes.
Yo, that was maybe it was a year later.
Oh, it was a whole year?
For context.
Oh, we need some context. A whole 12-month gestation period.
It wasn't 12.
It wasn't 12. Yeah.
We talked for.
We were on and off.
Yeah, we were on and off through our freshman year because like I was getting out of a relationship and like a high school relationship, you know how that goes.
Yeah.
And then I like didn't want to be in a relationship just to like start college, so I was like just trying to see what was going on. So like we didn't just like jump right into it. I mean, what was your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we were on and off, making sure we were on the same page before we got into something more long term.
Yeah. I didn't want to commit with being on bullshit, basically.
Yeah.
And she was like,
I didn't want him to.
She was like, get your head right.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Like if you want to do this, let's do it. But
to.
If not, like let's just like wait or whatever. Let's just like do our own thing.
Yeah.
But then I think at end of freshman year is when we started like locking in, and then we did like the long distance over the summer. And once I figured like if I'm doing long distance for this girl, like you know, then like there's something really here. And then when at the start of sophomore year, like a month before sophomore year started, that's when I was like, all right, let's be like official going into the year.
Right. You said when he asked me to be his girlfriend, he said, you know you're my girlfriend, right? And I said, you can't be serious.
That's flashy.
And this by the way, after I had taken the train 3 hours to Maryland to meet his parents, and he texted me that after, you know you're my girlfriend, right? Well, yes. I
Really?
at your parents' home.
This is a question I've been meaning to ask you guys for a while, actually. So obviously you guys are an interracial couple. And you guys are not the same race. And
right into it.
In this country, you know, like that can be a problem for some people. And especially those who are kind of stuck in a traditional mindset, like, you know, Joe, you come from a Nigerian household, and, you know, Lily, like, you know, you obviously have an Italian background. I don't know how the traditional landscape is there, but, you know, those are different cultures, right? And I wonder if there is some sort of clash at any point in time in your relationship between your friends, family, was there any pushback? Did you ever feel awkward at like a Christmas party, or, you know, like at any point in time, the fact that you guys are not in the same race, that posed a problem?
Hey, looking at me, you speak.
I got problems.
I mean, I guess there's, when you're starting something with somebody who you know is from a very different background as you don't want to pretend that that's not true, right? Like, I think it's something that's important to keep in mind, especially when you're talking about like cultural differences. Like, it's not just white and black, like it's Nigerian and it's it's just keeping that all in mind when you start a relationship with somebody. I think is important because you want to acknowledge the things about you that are different, because you don't take them into account when you're building a relationship. I think that you'll set yourself up for failure. But at the same time, I think that something that we found, at least throughout that first year of like getting to know one another, was like there were things that made us different, but there were also things that we had in common that put us on the same page, that made us very similar and similar minded. So I think that has been more important for us, at least from my perspective. And like in terms of Joe meeting my family, meeting my friends, like that's been the more important thing, is like these are the values that we share, rather than like we're from different backgrounds.
I feel like who you decide to be in a relationship with is a factor or a product of like a lot of different factors. One could be like your network, where you are in life, and like we love a lot of different people just like in our lives. Like we meet people, we have white friends, we have Indian friends, we have Hispanic friends, and like, you know what I'm saying, who you choose to latch onto is just like, that's just like what it is. Like I said, like it's just a product of like factors in your life. And like, yeah, I don't want to say there's been like pushback. Like there's never been a time at any point like my family's ever said anything, or like my immediate family's ever said anything, or like there's been like little comments or anything. Like I've always felt comfortable with all my friends as well. Like you might have some friends that like are on the, I don't want to say on the fringe, but like those that kind of like to poke fun or whatever, like, oh, like you would have worked or whatever. But like no one's ever like actually given me for anything, because like they kind of know who I am. You know, I know that there's some people that like when I be like, oh, I have a girlfriend, and then they like realize that my girlfriend's not black. That'll like catch people off guard, or like I'll see people like their face, they'll make it like a certain expression, like, and they're not even like on purpose, right? I'll just see like the energy shift a little bit, and you can see them like in their head, like their perception of you is changing a little bit, because they think that, oh, like Joe does this, he dresses like this, he talks like this, he listens to Afrobeat, whatever. They're not expecting like, oh, that I'm, not with a
preference versus colorism. I'm just dropping that out there. What do you think? And let me give you a real example, very practical. Black men, for example, who like lighter skinned women versus darker skinned women, on both sides of the spectrum, you only like one or the other, right? Or hey, I'm a white guy and I only date white women. I don't look at black women, or like black women who are dating white guys and not black guys, etc. Like people who are just like, hey, like I just find that particular race, that particular look, that particular shade more attractive than others. Do you think that there's some sort of problem with that, or is that just a matter of preference sometimes, based on like how humans have different likes and desires from others?
I'll let you speak to that one. I don't know that. That's my place.
First in line.
I'm not even the right person to ask this question, because my street works both ways, right? The same way I just said, like, I don't even what other people think about I actually don't give a about people's preference, or like whatever. Like if an Asian man says like I only ever want to date, or like I'm only gonna marry an Asian like woman, I honestly don't care. Like that's just I'm not even gonna use that line, but there's a J. Cole line where it's just like who you know what I'm saying, like who you have sex with, like that doesn't mean anything to me. Like whoever you choose to love, why you so like when you talk about colorism though, specifically, like when they're like some black men will be like, oh, only like light skins or only like dark skins. Yeah. Like that, I think just because of like our history in this country, and like the way how fair skinned people like across the world are viewed like higher class, like that's just is what it is. Like darker skinned people across the world are treated worse. Then I think that's where it becomes problematic, because you're feeding into something that actually has like historical like implications. So like that's where I think like that's more of an issue. Like if I'm gonna go out and say like, oh, I only am going, and like usually when they do that, right, it's to like put the other side down, right? Like if you say I have a type, or like, oh, I only like brunettes or whatever, like I only like blondes or whatever. No one's really like, a white guy says like I just prefer blondes. No one's gonna kill him for that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But like I feel like when we get into the concept of like color, there's just so much more weight with that. Yeah. So I like that. I don't know. That's just like where I leave it at. But
so describe a situation where that would be okay. Where can you envision this being like, okay, someone comes out, says that, and it's all right. Nobody on Twitter, nobody on TikTok is gonna flame.
I think you could say anything where nobody on Twitter would flame you.
That's also true.
I don't know. Like I just everyone's gonna like. It doesn't really matter because you can have person A, and they might have all the experiences to back up. Like if let's say I grew up in an Asian community randomly, right? Like I just happened like to have the one black family like that grew up around all Asians, and like a certain belief I have is like I feel like sometimes who you decide to date or whatever is also due to like your network, like who you're around, right? So if you're only around Asians, let's say you might grow up and just be like that's the culture that you were in or whatever like that was, and you just be like, oh, I just found myself like attracted because like this is where I grew up in, like this is kind of like all I know, like I know there are other black people out there, but just like whatever. It wouldn't be anybody's right to be like, oh my gosh, like how could you not date a black woman or whatever? Like that's just that person's experience. Yeah, it's just like, but but that's what I'm saying. Like that's just someone's experience. Like whether that's right or wrong, like who cares? I don't know. Back to the main thing with me, like I probably just don't care.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, a lot of the world does care, and it's like a lot of people have to like navigate the world's caring because you have to live in the world and prosper within it.
Yeah.
And it's hard to like. Alright, do you guys have each other's passwords?
No.
Well, that was a quick answer. Why don't you have each other's passwords?
Like to what? Phone accounts? Like what?
Anything, yeah. Phone account.
I think we both know the passwords to each other's phones.
I simply don't know the password to your phone.
Really?
No, you do, but like that's the thing.
I
knew her passcode as well for like the first couple years of our relationship, but like I like wouldn't internalize it. Like it's one of those things where like you pass someone your phone and like you look and like, oh, your phone locked, what's your passcode? She's not gonna come over and then be like like she'll just tell me her passcode.
I see.
But like other like everything else though, like no, because there's no point.
So you don't make a concerted effort to like, hey, like I need to know.
Yeah, no.
Right.
It's not how to access all of your private information.
Like we're not intentionally keeping each other out of anything, but also not intentionally like having forced access.
No, I got you. It's very natural.
Yeah,
like
if he asks something, like we share an account for something, then yeah, we both have the password.
So I just really don't care.
Yeah,
I like that. Is there any point in time that either of you ever feel jealous of each other or of any other person in your relationship?
I think jealous of each other in terms of the context of like, oh, you're doing this, I'm jealous, doesn't so much make sense in the context of our relationship because at least I feel like we're at the point where like a win for one of us is a win for both of us. We've been together for so long, share a house, like all this. Yeah. Like if one person's up, you're
well, that's how it should be.
Up,
yeah, that's not what I'm talking about. No, okay. No. If you guys should like, no one should be jealous of another person's success, especially you're right.
I'm talking about let's example when Lily gets a lot of attention.
Well, you do Lily like too, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Lily's walking around, she got this outfit on. You know what I'm saying? Some man looking at her, saying, "Hey, what's up, Lily? What's going on?" You know what I'm saying? And do you ever feel jealous at times? It's like, hey, like
you know, I don't get jealous.
Oh, really? What about you?
I'll tell you right now what I would say.
Huh?
If I got it, I got it. Like, please.
What does that even mean?
Nah, really.
If I got it, I got it. What does that mean?
Like if that's me, that's me. Like.
What do you mean? If that's me, that's me.
If that's my girl, that's my girl. Like I'm not gonna be just like if we go to a party or whatever.
Secure.
And there's like a lot of guys like trying to like, or let's say there's just like some guy that's like trying to talk to her or whatever. Yeah. I'm like, I already know that's me, so like I'm not gonna start like grabbing and like when guys like start to hold their girl hostage at a party or whatever. Yeah. Like, they start tripping or whatever. Like
you gotta get involved a little bit with the handshake.
I just whatever. Like.
Do you like being with your significant other like all the time, or do you feel like there's like a nice in between where like you're not, hey, like this is a little too much. I need to back off. You know what I'm saying? You guys ever feel those moments?
This is like a big thing to think about when we decided to move in together because I personally don't ever need personal space. From Joe. Okay. Other people sure, but from Joe I just like I'm happy to be with him all the time.
Just like me.
But he needs time to decompress, and that's fair. Everybody's different needs.
Decompress to general. What do you mean? You need time to decompress.
Just like
a lot goes on, and like. A lot happens. I'm in it day to day. So
it sounds like you guys have a healthy balance, like an understanding.
Sometimes we don't get the balance right. Sometimes I don't get the balance right. Because there are some times where I might be like a little bit too distant, depending on what that week or the past 2 weeks have looked like or what's just going on. Yeah. And she might need just like a little bit extra love, just a little extra squeeze or whatever. But you know.
It's important to communicate about it.
Yeah.
And I think it's something we had to kind of get sorted out before we moved in together, because you have to, like, that's an issue you confront every single day when you share a home, is like whether or not you always want to be together 24/7. Whereas like previously we could always just go back to our own spaces. So it's definitely something that requires some
I think that's just a common relationship thing. Yeah. I think just a lot of men, like when we go through shit, like we just kind of like to be to ourselves a little bit.
Yeah, you know? I'm pretty much the same exactly.
Yeah, so it's like, you know.
Like, I need some time to be like, bro, like, I'm too angry to communicate or be around anybody right now. Like, I'm not thinking rationally. And like, when I'm not thinking rationally, I don't want to be around anybody so that I don't do anything irrational to somebody else. So do you guys think it's okay for your significant other to find any other person attractive at all?
I think it's natural. Like I don't know that it's the most reasonable thing to ask, but I think it's about how they treat you when you're in a scenario that might be the case.
So what does that mean? Unpack that a little bit.
Like if somebody walked by who I thought was cute, I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, that guy's so hot. Like or if there was like some context where we were talking about something like that, it's like providing reassurance to your partner. They're like, okay, I've made this observation, but you know. Yeah.
Can your spouse have a best friend that's of the opposite, sex, or someone that they could potentially be attracted to?
I will say it isn't something that's really been an issue in our relationship.
Yeah. Do you guys have? Do either one of you would usually consider one of your best friends or your best friend to be opposite sex?
No, I don't.
So all your best friends are
all my closest friends are all guys.
Yeah.
I've had like, I don't know, like you've never had like a guy that was like that she was super close to that was straight, so that.
That's I don't know that's
the
true.
difference though, right?
That's true. My closest guy friend.
That's the difference when it comes to security between a man and a woman, because like if for us guys, like we're only gonna be worried if like he's straight, right? But if he's gay, then we probably just don't care. Yeah. Congratulations to you.
Okay, so now that brings us basically to the end of the show. Thank you guys for being here today. Really appreciate it. It's been a great first episode. Before we close, we want to know, is there anything that you want to leave the audience with? Any piece of advice? Any story that you'd like to leave off with? Anything that you want to say?
I think if any advice, it's just communication is probably the biggest thing. It's the simple things that keep relationships going. So
true.
That's it.
And pick your person wisely, because you have to want to communicate with them. You know, you gotta pick somebody that you want to do all the hard stuff with.
That actually is good advice.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
That actually is good.
Because a lot of people do be picking people that don't actually like them. Or people that they don't like. Shout out to all my friends.
And scene.
Good night, New York.
Yeah, we'll see you next time on Relationship Status.